guarantees they've got of keeping us safe.
The message of this morning from all official sources is that it's business as usual. MPs will be sitting in Parliament while we've been...
So here we are, first sea day, and the ship's moving a little bit. It's I think it's only force 4, but it's I think there's a bit of a swell, so we're moving up and down. We've got that lurch. To any of you out there that are thinking about possibly doing any kind of cruise gigs, it is one of the things that you have to consider. You know, you are going to have days when you get rough sea, and it's you know, like this is not too bad, but you know, over the years I've been in a lot of force 12s, force 11s. You know, it's not particularly enjoyable. Some people just, you know, they find it quite good fun, but you know, I don't think playing bass while the ship's just doing this is particularly enjoyable. You know, it's a little bit like reading while you're in a car. You know, it's really easy to get travel sick. I've got my own little methods for dealing with rough sea. Well, I try not to get lethargic, because it's one of those things, if it gets you, it's got you. You know, if you start feeling sick, you can't just reverse it. So I try and stop it before it starts. One of the things that I find is that if I do get lethargic, I start getting tired and groggy. It just makes it, you know, 100 times worse. So I try and do little things like keeping my eyebrows up like this, listen to music that's really heavy, you know, like that stuff that just keeps me, you know, up. Strangely, the movement of the ship is not actually always tied into the Beaufort force. I've been in force 9s where it's not moving that much, but like you can be in like force 4, and just because of the type of swell that you've got, it has a really horrible kind of motion. Like you look outside now and it doesn't look that rough at all. You know, there's the waves aren't particularly big, but there is a bit of a swell, and it's one of those things that can actually make you feel sick, because it just kind of goes and then. I've heard a lot of people walking around saying, oh, you know, and they're finding it hard to, you know, walk around. I mentioned before I came on board in one of the previous vlogs that the age range was going to be pretty old on board, and I was right. I've just been walking around, and I'd say that the average age is probably somewhere in the late 60s, maybe 70 even. So there's a lot of older people on board, and that really does have an impact on the kind of stuff that you're going to play. And also how late they stay up and stuff like that. It's hard to get, you know, like a full-on disco dance floor. On sea days like this, being a musician, it can be quite boring because there's not really much to do. If you're playing, obviously you've got stuff to do, but like today, there's nothing. We don't start until 7 o'clock tonight, and we've got 4 sets. And I know in the past, I'd always have the laptop there, I'd have like a bunch of films to watch, TV series, and you just start working your way through those. And you know, if you know a load of people on board, if you're on for any period of time, obviously make a lot of friends on board, and everybody just swaps hard drives and things, and you just get all the latest new TV series, and you just sit watching those in your cabin. I got to bed about 12:30, 1 o'clock last night, and woke up about 7:30, which is not bad for me, because I'm used to the kids waking us up at like 5:30 in the morning. I knew that I'd still wake up fairly early. But like an idiot, I missed breakfast, because first of all I was just laid in bed with the iPad, just played some game on there, and then I was watching the TV and sort of watching everything unfold. There's been that terrorist attack in London, so I was watching a lot of stuff about that, and I didn't realise what time breakfast finished and lost track of time. And that's the thing with cruise ships, if you don't get to your food at the right time, then that's it, you ain't getting any. In terms of food on board, it's pretty good because we've got this supernumerary status, which is a little bit like a passenger, so we get to eat in some of the passenger areas, so we can go in this what's called Palms Cafe on board, so it's like a buffet service. So we get to eat in there. I don't think we're actually even allowed to go down into the crew mess because of our status, so I don't think that's even allowed. On other cruise lines, as musicians, you'd be eating either in the crew mess, or sometimes if you've got a different status, you might be eating like the officers mess, things like that. I mean, that's very different from eating in like the passenger area. But the only downside to eating in passenger areas is, of course, all the maitre d's and the the staff in there. They don't really treat you like passengers. They're likely to turn you away if it's quite busy. So you'll turn up, hungry, and you know there's a lot of passengers in there really busy, and they'll just say, no, can you come back later? And that's fine, you know, you have to come back later. But if you're on for a long period of time, and you know, you've only got a small gap, a small window that you can eat, and then you're getting turned away, that can become really annoying. In that sense, it can be a lot easier if you're designated crew mess or officers mess, even though the food might not be the same, but at least, you know, at least you can eat, at least you're not going to get turned away. And that is one good point in terms of working on cruise lines. If you're the type of person that just cannot handle people telling you what to do or where to go and things like that, then maybe cruise ships isn't the thing for you, because there are a lot of rules and regulations, and you know, you'll have officers kind of telling you what to do because you're not a passenger. You know, you are a crew member on board, so you have to do what they tell you to do. But because of all the hierarchy systems in there, and because of the officer statuses and all that kind of thing, I mean, I'm not naming names here or anything to do with any cruise ships or cruise lines, but you know, some people get a little bit of power, and you know, it just goes to the head. And in these kind of places where it's a little bit like a bubble, where you know, that you've got your own kind of ecosystem in here, that can become quite annoying when you get these little Hitlers walking around. So yeah, so far it's going okay. The gig last night was fine. We did the 4 sets, they went by quite quick. We're all getting used to the pad. It's a little bit weird with the iPad because I've got so many songs in there. There's like, I think there's over 1,000 tunes, and you know, like rifling through them or using the little alphabetic thing to find them is really tough, because I'm so used to just using standard, you know, sheets, and you know, I'm used to having large pads and being able to rifle through them really fast, but it's so weird being delicate with the iPad. So it's just one of those things I've got to get used to. So that was the only real problem last night. In terms of reading, it was all pretty straightforward. I'm actually reading off piano scores for a lot of them. I'm reading the bass clef part. So that can be a little bit weird as well, because you don't get much on a page when you're reading like that. The other guys in the band are cool. On keys we've got a guy called Rob, and on drums a guy called Ian, and yeah, both really nice, played fine. It was, you know, as ever, there were a few mistakes in there, and I know for me especially, some of the mistakes that I made were partly down to me actually knowing some of the tunes. It's weird, you know, when you're reading some stuff, actually knowing the tune already can actually be more of a problem, because you start reading it, you know, whatever the tune is, let's say it's, I don't know, something really easy and popular like I Only Want to Be With You by Dusty Springfield. So you start reading the thing and you think, yeah, I know this, it's even in the same key that I've always played it in. You start playing it, and then you kind of take your eyes off the part a little bit. You kind of just scanning through and thinking, oh, da 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 da, and then before you know it, the form's completely different to how you might have played it before, and you just don't know where you are, and you think, oh, what's going on here? And you know, very small mistakes in there, because it just means you know, skipping back to a verse or a chorus or something like that, and so you just think, oh well, I'll jump back to it, but it's not good. You know, you want to play everything right. So yeah, for me, some of these, the problems that I have are not necessarily the actual reading. It's actually knowing the tune and then screwing it up because I'm actually, you know, too relaxed and just relying on my own memory.